Yeah, and like, you know, even I was reading something recently around like alternative medicine.
The
You know,
words.
like alternative medicine was not alternative until the Western medicine came in and made it
was medicine.
Yeah, it was medicine. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, you know, yeah, you're right. It's like about blending the Western medical model with the kind of Eastern sort of holistic and spiritual practices that have been there for thousands of years for ages. You know.
Yeah.
You know, with regards to the mind-body connection and somatic therapy, and not treating people as just like mental problems. It's also body is physical too.
Yeah.
It's like emotional, physical, and spiritual. So like all of those things need to be ticked for a person to be well.
Yeah.
And you know, one part that we haven't really talked about yet, and I know we're probably getting to the end of time.
I'm not in a rush, so if you want to talk about it, let's go.
It's the whole aspect of, you know, treating people who use substances as criminals, you know, and then putting them through the criminal system, and the services that we have for those people, and how there's like a lot of shaming there too, and ultimately as well, like with regards to a lot of the plant medicines and psychedelics, like they're part of nature, you know. They're natural. They're from the natural world, you know, and that's another disconnection that we've had. We've been told that like these herbs and these remedies that are they're not good, you know what I mean, because they're not part of the Western medical model. And excuse me, there's lots of, you know, power structures there with certain industries that like don't want these things getting out to the world, because like if you can have something like psilocybin treat depression, then there's like thousands of mainstream medications that are just gone then, and that's industries, that's jobs, that's money, it's revenue, that's all gone out the window for something that's natural from the world. It can be grown really cheaply and really easily, you know, in terms of mushrooms, you know. And we're very fortunate to be in Ireland that we can pick them ourselves, you know, in the winter.
Is it illegal here to pick a mushroom outside and eat it yourself?
Yeah, if it's psychedelic, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. So, you know, that
by itself is mental.
Yeah, so that's another thing. It's like it's another ultimate control, disconnection from nature. And I know like these things do come in for, you know, reasons, but in Ireland it was like there was a pushback in, I think it was 2006, you know, someone took their life, unfortunately, but they had a cocktail of stuff in their lives, and, you know, I think it was like mushrooms got the bad press and then they were banned, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I see mushrooms as our indigenous plant medicine. You know, for thousands of years, Irish people would have probably used magic mushrooms for healing, you know, psilocybe, semilanceata, liberty caps. You know, we had a rich culture of the Druids, you know, they were the ones that probably would have worked with these entheogenic plants for healing, for divination, for community, trying to figure out community problems, of connecting to nature, of something higher than themselves, a higher power, trying to find the wisdom and understanding. It would have been around probably ritual. And, you know, in other countries, the shamans, you know, they still have those lineages alive. So there is like procedures and protocols that they have in place, where in Ireland, you know, they've been lost. So people are just going to festivals, eating mushrooms, having these profound experiences, and then not knowing what to do with them.
Yeah.
So we don't have it in our culture. And that's one thing that we're really passionate about now, is trying to educate people around them. Psychedelic harm reduction. We have a course coming out, Introduction to Psychedelic Therapy. That'll be online in the winter, and it's giving people, you know, 10 weeks of the really nuts and bolts of how psychedelics work, you know what I mean, for yourself. And, you know, if you want to become a space holder in the future, it will give you like a good broad foundation in how to work with them, and everything you need to know, from shadow work, harm reduction, Jungian psychology, transpersonal psychology, trauma informed work. You know, it's all going to be in there. But we need the education, you know, and there's only certain institutes in the world now that are allowed to work with psychedelics, that are getting the licenses. It's really slow. Some countries are really going full power now. Like the United States are the ones that like clamped down, made the whole world clamp down.
And now they're opening the doors again.
And they're just like blazing it at the moment, you know, like some
states it's legal.
Yeah, they're decriminalizing it, you know, all plant medicine. There's, you know, marijuana's been legalized there, and magic mushrooms and ayahuasca.
Would marijuana be included in some of the? Wouldn't be included in plant medicine, would it?
Well, some people would say it is, yeah, and I definitely think it is,
Okay.
Because people are healing themselves with high levels of THC.
Yes.
And Santa Maria is marijuana in some indigenous
Okay.
culture traditions, and they use it during breathwork and ayahuasca ceremonies, and it has a spirit to it itself if you do a high enough dose of it. And it does help people with different things. So there is a lot of research coming out around marijuana now, and it's really annoying that countries like Ireland are still pushing back against it.
Yeah.
There's amazing people in this country like Vera Toomey, whose poor kid has a condition where they need to have THC to be able to not have seizures, and that medication is like really out of reach because it's so expensive, and there's only certain people can give it, and it's a license around it, and it's a power structure thing again. It's it's top down. Certain people want to be the only ones who can prescribe it. Certain companies are the only ones that can produce it. Certain people can only take it if they can afford it. It's like it's a nightmare when the science is showing that these things, when legalized, when taxed, when people have the education around it, that it's actually really fine for society, and it creates less problems. Like you think in Canada, when Vancouver legalized, in the United States, when I think it was Colorado legalized marijuana, they had so much money and revenue from taxes on it. They didn't know what to do with the money.
Jesus.
They were like repaving roads, and schools had so much money because people were allowed to choose what they wanted to consume. So it's again against sovereignty, against personal power as well, what you can put into your own body, and you having the right over your own body and what you consume, and you have the right to explore your consciousness and the right to explore your mind. And who's to say that someone says you can't explore your mind? You're not allowed to go to that field and pick that mushroom and eat it and have a spiritual experience. Why are we listening to those people?